What is the one thing that billionaires all did that made them successful, that made them a part of the 0.1% in history? Even if you don't want to get necessarily to $1 billion, you can take a lot of these things that I'm going to talk to you in this episode, which the main thing being the main one essential thing that they all do. And this will allow you to make insane progress with your goals. And think about it. How easy is it for billionaires to make $1 million, right? It's like they did it 1,000 times, right? They have at least 1,000 millions. You have at least $1,001, right? It's very easy for you to make $1,000. So if you just apply a few things, or maybe just a little bit of this one thing that they do, you're going to be able to get a lot more results. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you not only about this, but more precisely about these things. And these are pretty much the benefits of listening to this episode. One, it's going to help you stop feeling overwhelmed and stop anxiety. If you're feeling anxiety or anything like this, and you're feeling almost like this difficulty to breathe because you have so many things on your plate, you don't know what to do, you lack clarity, it's going to give you clarity, a lot of clarity. It's going to allow you to stop distractions and focus on the things that really matter and how to know. I'm also going to tell you how to know what are the things that really matter in your situation by asking you questions that apply to your life. And the one secret, the greatest 0.1% in history used to become successful, the habit of success. So this is the habit of success is something really important to put in place that will make everything else easier or necessary in your life and make. I'm going to give you the list of 20 habits that I found for me to give you an example and very applicable examples of things that you can do to fast track your progress with your goals and that will make your life as easy as possible to achieve your goals and as likely as possible to achieve your goals. And also, if there's some time remaining because I'm pretty tight on time today, I might tell you also about the Jesus teachings that will make you more money as well, which is very interesting. So if any of this interests you and you are an entrepreneur and you want to build an empire, this is what I do here. I help ambitious entrepreneurs build an empire. If you're new here, my name is Ivaldi, Sako, welcome. Here I do this. This is what I do. I document what I learn during my week, and this past week I've learned about this because I felt overwhelmed and I needed to find a solution, and I find this one common thing that billionaires did that make everything else easier or unnecessary, right? And if you're new here and you want this kind of content to appear more to you on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this, subscribe and join us, because here you're going to get tremendous value to build an awesome life, a life that you're proud of, a life that you want to live, that you're excited to live, and just solve a lot of your problems, because I feel like I suffer a lot and I go through a lot. I make a lot of mistakes building a great company, and I just document here what I learn. So I just condense all the learnings from my week, maybe sometimes even more than that, learn from the greatest in history. Like I'm going to tell you today about Steve Jobs, Steven Spielberg, and even Einstein. And both these three people have this one thing in common as well, right? So if any of this kind of stuff interests you, subscribe and join us. And let's get into it. And by the way, if it serves you, it might serve someone else as well. So maybe you can share it, and it will be of a great help to the people that you share it with. So let's get into it. By the way, I'm French, right? So bear with me even if I struggle a little bit speaking English. And if you see me sweat a lot, it's because it's just so hot here. I haven't had the time to turn on the AC. Anyway, let's get to it. So I'm going to give you all these things and I'm going to go through a list of things that I noticed. And so that this way, if I give you the kind of the storyline of how I went through my week, it's going to bring more value to you by actually you're going to be able to see how it applies in your life. And I think it makes it just more interesting. And for me, just easier to document actually what happened in my week. So let's get to it. So last Sunday, so it's been like, today is Saturday when I'm recording this. And last Sunday, I woke up very tired and distracted, and I didn't plan my week. And so I went through my week not having a plan, which is very rare to me. And I really suggest, if you do not do this already, schedule your week, not just day by day, right? The same day, I watched a video on YouTube of the mastermind of Brian Moncada, which was great. And in it, someone said that you must increase the ceiling and ask yourself new questions and see what's possible. What are the bigger things that you need to do? And so it allowed me to ask myself. This made me think of asking myself, instead of, because my goal right now is to make 100K a month, I was like, okay, what would it take for me to make $100 million a year company? And I asked myself this, and this opened up new possibilities. And if you want to, at the end, if you want to ask me what are the answers I got from this, because I could tell you I have them in front of me right now, but I think it's a little less important than actually giving you the question, right? What would it take for you to actually insert bigger goal than you currently have? Because if you don't have the perception of achieving a bigger goal, for example, for me, like, instead of focusing on 100K per month, and this is why I'm not achieving it, I feel like it's a lot. And so this is why I'm not getting there. But if you focus on, okay, how do I get to $8 million a month? Whoa, you have to think in a different way. It just shifts some things inside of your mind. And when you do this, it allows you to come up with answers, right? And so I came up with answers for me, how I was going to do this. And this is not going to take a few months to do this. I think this is a big plan, but it's worth it. Like, it opens up the possibilities. And so now making 100K per month seems a lot more achievable. And because it seems a lot more achievable, I will actually do the things that will actually get me there. So the second thing that I learned through this mastermind is do needle work instead of deep work, because I'm used to do just deep work. So not having any distractions and focusing on one thing, right? During my deep work session. So for me, it's like 45 minutes of uninterrupted, just pure focused work. And I do this, I take 5 minutes of pause just without distracting myself, even in 5 minutes, just going, wash up, drink water, right? And then I do this again. I do this for about 3 hours. And the thing is that when the guy said this in the mastermind, he said, do needle work, not deep work. And this hit me. I was like, oh shoot, that's right. I'm doing deep work on things that don't necessarily matter the most, right? It don't make the needle move forward. And so right now I'm going to focus on actually doing needle work instead of deep work. And in the same mastermind I watched Sunday, Brian Moncada talked about taking the most important things that people learned in this mastermind. So day one, what is the one essential thing that I learned that I'm going to apply today that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? And he said that. And because I had already read The One Thing, the book called The One Thing from Gary something and Jay Papasan, I forgot the name of both authors. And I read that and I knew this was the question taken from this book. And so I was also, before that, I was thinking of which book I should read next. And so I was like, okay, I need to read this book. I started reading this book. And this is going to get clear, right? On what is the one thing that billionaires do. And I saw that, and then I was trying to plan my week actually Monday, right? I was like, okay, I didn't do it yesterday. I was really tired, distracted. Let's do this today to make sure the week goes well. It didn't really go well. I was very distracted all the week, the entire week, and I didn't get nowhere near as much done as I could have. And so I defined all the roles in my life more clearly, especially in business, because right now in business, I'm wearing a lot of hats, right? I'm a small business owner. I'm not making millions yet. I don't have a CEO. I don't have a CMO. And I don't have all these things, right? We have a really small team, and I do most of the decisions. I do all the decisions actually, right? So I defined all my roles in my business and in my life. So in my life, I already have some roles, right? So I'm a businessman, right? I take care of my health, right? I take care of my relationships. I'm a brother, right? I'm a cousin, for example. I'm a son, and I'm a Christian, right? So all these things, like, there are roles in my life, and I ask myself, okay, what goals do I have in these roles? And so, but I didn't really define what are the different roles that I had in my business, right? I was like saying businessman, I'm a business owner, right? But what are the different roles inside of this? And this made it easier for me to set the right goals and not forget anything in my business. If you don't mind, I think I'll just open the door, because it's just, I'm starting to sweat way too much. I hope you won't hear too much. I think it's okay. I think you can hear me pretty decently. And so yeah. And then I started doing this, but I still was distracted, and I didn't plan my week correctly. And because of this, I felt overwhelmed. I felt anxious. I had a lot of things on my plate. A lot of things went wrong. I got angry this week. A lot of things went wrong. And so to overcome that, I started to make a list of the things I had to do, right? And this is what you got to do when you feel overwhelmed or anxious, and it happens a lot of time. All you have to do is just make a list. This is the only thing that you need to do. Make a list of all the things that you have to do. You think, okay, what do I have to do right now? Okay, what do I have to do? Today, what do I have to do, right? Like, what is right now on my plate, on my mind? And you make a list. Boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You make a list, 10, 15, 20, doesn't matter. Make a list. Now, if you kind of like, it's obvious for you that these kind of things are more important than others, try to focus on the most important. But I made a list, and I just was able to see clearly what was happening. And then to just make the anxiety and overwhelm vanish, all you have to do is just decide. Because oftentimes when you feel overwhelmed or anxious, it's just because you haven't made the decision. There are decisions that you haven't made. And so for me, this week, it was not making the decision on what I was going to focus on, right? What I was going to do this week. And so I was feeling overwhelmed because I felt like I had to do all of the things that I need to do this week. And this was way too much to bear. I didn't know which one to focus on first. And so I made this list, and then I prioritized them. Each of the items in the list, I prioritized them. So I put them in a sequence, in the order. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the most important thing. Then the second, next 3, 4, 5, right? And so once I did this, and I was able to see, okay, I'm going to focus on the number 1 first. And I focus on this one, I focus on the second one, and the third one, and I got them all done. And it was easy, and I felt just like my anxiety, my overwhelm completely vanished, like that. And so then I did this. And in between times, I listened to a podcast in which the guy, I forgot the name of the guy, he said some important things. Before spending money, you need to do 2 things. Ask yourself 2 questions. 1, do I need it, or do I want it? Is it an absolute need to achieve my goal, or is it a desire that I have? Even as a company, it works. Is it something that we want, or something that we need? And then if it is something that you need, you can ask yourself, can I get it somewhere else cheaper, right? If you can, and it's the same value, you can just save a bunch of money like this and because this ties into the one thing, right? I'm telling you this because it ties into the one thing that billionaires do, which is something about essentialism. And if you ask yourself this question, you're not going to buy things that you don't really need, and so you're going to prevent yourself bringing too many distractions. Forgive me if the phone was vibrating, right? Anyway, so after that, I listened to the Founder podcast on Steven Spielberg. And this is where it gets interesting. So in this episode, he was talking about Steven Spielberg and how in his life, there was one person that shifted their entire life, right? Shifted his entire life for Steven Spielberg, but also other successful people. For example, I'm going to tell you this after that, right? So, Steven Spielberg, in his life, it was, I think it was George Lucas, but I'm not sure. Or maybe it was, no, Chuck Silvers. I think it was Chuck Silvers. So, yeah, he had one person change his life forever. So this is one of the components of the one thing. And he was able to get great mentors because he had an incredible enthusiasm. And so people above him wanted him around them because he had just this enthusiasm and they wanted to help him, but they liked him. And so this is one of the key things I also saw when I was hiring someone. I was almost going to make a mistake hiring someone that was not exactly qualified just because they were enthusiastic, right? They had this enthusiasm about them that I wanted to be around them. And number 3. So these are I'm telling you right now the things, a list of things that I learned from the Founders episodes, and inside of it, you're going to see the one thing. Number 3, he had competition. Steven Spielberg had, how did he become successful? He found the one person that changed his life. He had one person that changed his life completely. He found this person because he had amazing enthusiasm, and he also had someone a few years older than him, some kind of a competitor that was not too much above him. He was just a few steps ahead. He was a couple of years older than him, but he was a lot more successful. He was very successful, but he was just a couple of years older than him, and so it made his goal and his dream tangible. It made it seem possible. It was like, if he can do it, I surely can as well. And so this is very important, and this is kind of the thing that I was telling you about in the first thing that I talked to you about, with the trying to increase your goal and seeing what's possible. Asking yourself, how could I make this into $100 million a year company instead of trying to make $100K a month, right? So if you ask yourself, okay, what is possible? And he realized that he could do it because he had, I think it was George Lucas that was a couple of years ahead of him, and he was doing big things in the movie industry. And so it seemed possible, and so therefore he actually took action. He actually did it. Also, he didn't listen to what people were saying. They were saying movie are done right now in this in this moment in his life. People were saying movies are done, television is the next thing, and yet he still went into this already successful industry. This industry where there are a lot of people already extremely successful, and he actually disrupted it. He made a big change in this industry, and he did that just because. And this is what allowed him to become a billionaire, actually, I think. And the thing that actually allowed him to do this was his singular focus. He just made movies, and that's it. He focused on this one skill. And so he also just didn't care about anything else, right? He focused on this one thing, and so he had no other distractions, no other goals, nothing else. Just he wanted to make movies. That's it. And so then I read a couple more pages of the one thing, the book, The One Thing, and in the book, the same day as I was listening to this Founder episode, I came across this section of the book where it said there's always one essential person that changed successful people's lives, right? Every successful people, every billionaire that you come across, there was one person that changed everything for them. At least if they came from nothing and became billionaires after that, they are like self-made billionaires. Oftentimes it's just like one person that changed the entire course of their lives. And for Steve Jobs, for example, he was the founder of HP, Hewlett, I think this is his name. And for Steven Spielberg, it was Chuck Silvers. And for Einstein, it was his tutor, which introduced him to mathematics at his time. And so every single successful people that you see was introduced to something that made them successful by someone else, right? And so they had this one person and they had one single skill, and their companies oftentimes focus on one single product, and they always had one single focus. And this is the thing. This is insanely powerful. Now I'm going to give you some lists to make this applicable to you. And so then after that, I asked myself, what's the essential for our company, right? What's the essential for my company right now? And so I ask you, what's the essential for your company, for your life? What's the essential in your career, in the thing that you're doing right now? What is the essential thing? What is it all about? For example, for Steven Spielberg, it was making movies. That's it. That's all he focuses on. For Apple, at one point, it was just iPods. That's it. They would just focus on iPods, and then they would just focus on iPhones, right? So I asked myself this question, and then with this question, I had a lot of answers, right? So ask yourself this question: what's the essential for our company? And then you get an answer, right? And so for this answer, you ask yourself another time this question: what's the essential thing to do that thing? What's the essential thing to do that thing? And so you just go through the rabbit hole and just ask yourself again this question. For example, what's the essential for our company? Making experts a lot of money. What's the essential to make experts a lot of money? Getting appointments for them. What's the essential to get appointments for them? Getting a lot of traffic for them. And so you just go through the habit. What is the essential goal to get a lot of traffic for them? Make a lot of content. So you get actually really applicable things for them, for you. You get actually a really applicable things to get on the essential thing that you need to do to actually make the needle work, instead of just the deep work on whatever thing comes your way. And so this was extremely useful, and at the same time, just side notes, do not multitask, right? So this is a segment in the book. He tells you about different lies, and he tells you about the lie in the one thing. He tells you about the lie of multitasking, because you cannot do two things at the same time. You shift between two activities very fast. This is what you really do. And so when you do this, you waste a lot of time, and on both things that you're trying to do, or maybe even more things that you're trying to do, you divide your attention and you divide the actual quality of work that you produce. And so you do two things at the same time, but you do them poorly. And so you go slower, right? So you do one thing, but you do it with less speed. And when you do it less well. This is very just a waste of time of multitasking. And at one point I asked myself, okay, what do I need to subtract? So because this is the idea of focusing on the essential, it means that you need to have less things in your life. So ask yourself this question: what do you need to subtract to your life? So there's less BS and you can focus on what really matters. Ask yourself this question. And when you ask yourself this question, you come up with a list of things that you need to eliminate. And all you have to do is just eliminate these things. And you're not afraid of eliminating all of them. All of them, you just one by one. And if they are habits, you focus on, okay, I'm going to stop doing this at first. for this week, I'm going to stop doing this. You've mastered it. Okay. Next thing. And then at one point you have almost nothing in your life that is not the essential. But sometimes you're going to eliminate these things, and you're not necessarily going to arrive on the most important things that you should do, which is the actual real essential things. And so in the book, he tells you about the exercise to actually do this. All you have to do is just make a list. Just like I talked to you in the beginning, you make a list of all the things that you need to do. All of them. All the things that you need to do to accomplish a certain goal, you make a list of all of them. Once you did a big list, 20, 30 things, it doesn't matter, right? Of course, no need to just focus on small details that you know are not the essential thing. And once you've done this list, you're going to keep 20% of this list. And you focus on the 20% that are the most important ones. So for example, if you have a list of 100 things, you eliminate 80, right? 80 of them, you eliminate them, and you are you just keep 20 of them. And then on these 20, once you've kept them, okay, you have a list of 20 now, you do this exercise again. And so you keep only 20% of these things. And at one point, you can get to the very few needle moving work that you need to do. And you can even get to just one thing. And this is the idea behind the book. The one essential thing. And the question behind this book, the most important question to ask yourself is, what is the one essential thing that will make everything else easier or unnecessary for achieving this goal, for my health, for whatever, right?